Mortal Kombat 1 is going to be a game changer for sure. I know that we've been delving into the whole timeline, time travel aspect of the game, and that can turn some people off entirely, I'm sure. I'll admit, that whole timeline thing is even off-putting for someone like me. It just kind of feels like a way for someone who's writing a story to change moments in history so that they can undo the mistakes they made in their game to some extent. In the case of NetherRealm Studios, it definitely feels like they were reaching the end of the course for this Mortal Kombat storyline, which, if I'm going to be completely honest, I've enjoyed very much. So they decided that time travel was the route to go so that they could keep things fresh. And I mean, it's working, right? Mortal Kombat 1 is further expanding on the story of Mortal Kombat 11, even though we're kind of doing a soft reboot of the franchise. Again, it seems like we're being taken back to the very beginning of everything. And now we get to forge our own destiny to create the ultimate Mortal Kombat experience that we've been dreaming of. At least, that's what I hope they're going for. Maybe that does sound a little too ambitious, but I have faith in NetherRealm Studios' ambition. In the trailers we've seen so far, we've pretty much established that Scorpion and Sub-Zero are now actual brothers. And that Sub-Zero that we've seen is Scorpion's longtime nemesis, Bihan, the Sub-Zero from Sub-Zero mythologies and the person who would eventually become the dark force to be reckoned with, Noob Saibot. We get to see Kitana and Mileena being civil for once. It kind of feels like Kitana is the older, more responsible sister, while Mileena is the more rebellious one, trying to be on her best behavior so as to not get a proper scream from her, very good-looking mother. Look, they made Sindel look incredible in Mortal Kombat 11, okay? I'm just admiring the work that they put in on her model. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I also forgot to take into account that Sindel might not even be alive around this time, considering that usually in the Mortal Kombat lore, she's taken her own life when Kitana is very young as to not let Outworld invade Earthrealm, so I wonder how that's gonna play out this time. I am pretty curious to see how the relationship between both Mileena and Kitana will be in this game though. I know in the actual Mortal Kombat lore, Mileena is a product of Shang Tsung's experimentation of fusing humans with Tarkatans. She's usually evil from the get-go and envies Kitana because she isn't cursed with a face riddled with razor-sharp teeth. And during the story, old timeline and new, Mileena does refer to Kitana as her sister a lot, considering that she pretty much is a clone of the princess. But now I'm actually wondering if they're going to make them actual sisters and not a product of Shang Tsung's experiments. This time around, Mileena looks like she might have been a normal person and had the misfortune of being experimented on after her birth, rather than being created. So this will probably lead her down a dark, envious path and could make it so that we have to make some sort of heart-wrenching choices if the relationship between her and Kitana is a sacred one. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. This should definitely be interesting to find out once we get our hands on the game. We also get to see this timeline's Raiden and Kung Lao. Now, out of all the changes that are happening, this is one of my favorites. I feel like this will really be the chance for both of them to shine in this fresh new take on the timeline. I know that Liu Kang right now is the most powerful being in the universe, being a fire god and all, but let's be real, nobody really likes insanely overpowered, do-good protagonists because there's really no struggle and you kinda already know how the situation will play out. Like, Goku from Dragon Ball Z is remarkably strong, yes, and regardless of how annoying it is that he's always looking for that next fight or putting himself in dumb situations where he cares more about the power level of his opponent and wanting them not to hold back, rather than just doing what needs to be done for the sake of humanity, you can't deny that the man has really worked hard to get to where he's at. And even though he is already remarkably strong, he just ends up finding someone who's even stronger than that and has to really work to overcome that obstacle. I feel like Liu Kang is just too powerful right now, so being brought back down to a more grounded level with Kung Lao and Human Raiden will be very refreshing for sure. I feel like Raiden will be the voice of reason, while Kung Lao is going to be the unhinged, smart-mouthed rebel that we've gotten glimpses of in previous games. I feel like there's also going to be a mega twist with this game, but I'll save that for the end of the video, don't you worry. Another cool thing we saw was Johnny Cage and Kenshi duking it out, and I love this because while there are some bits of lore for Kenshi, we've never actually got to see him prior to the events of him becoming a blind swordsman. You know, besides that one MK film thing that showed him squaring off with Ermac, but this time it looks like he was a wealthy individual living a high-class life. Though in the trailer it looks like he's confronting Johnny Cage because he's in possession of one of his ancestors' blades. We kind of also know that he and Suchin are separated because in one of the clash intros between him and Fire God Liu Kang, he says something like, "Suchin wants me back."
Suchin wants me back.
You made as strong an impression as she did.
Has me thinking that they met before the blind swordsman obtained this new flashy life that he has, and once he began to really let it get to his head, let it cloud his vision, if you will, Suchin probably noped the heck out of there. I mean, you can even hear how he talks in his intro clashes with combatants. What was once a wise but sarcastic fighter is now a person who is probably pent up with a lot of bottled up rage. No, seriously, listen to some of the things that he says to Kitana.
Losing your sight. I can't imagine.
If I can't stand one thing, Princess,
It's pity.
This dude is out for blood, and he's in the right franchise for that kind of thing. But seriously, what happened, dude? I hope we get to delve more into that. Johnny Cage looks and acts exactly the same as before, and that's not a bad thing. I wasn't too huge a fan of how things were done in MKX, another hot take, I know. But the way he's been portrayed in Mortal Kombat 11, and from what we've seen of him so far in Mortal Kombat 1 has been really enjoyable. With all this violence and doomy gloominess all around, it's nice that Johnny Cage can find time to be our comedic relief while also kicking some serious ass. If it got that brutal with Kenshi, I can only imagine how it'll be when he meets up with Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and even Kung Lao. Those guys surely don't have time for his shit. They'll surely be ready to tear his head from his shoulders if he walks in there with any smart remarks. Now, here's something that I think would be pretty interesting to see in terms of the story mode. So, we all know how in the reveal trailer to Mortal Kombat 1, we pretty much see how Raiden, Kung Lao, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Kitana, and Mileena are doing in this brand new timeline. There's definitely a stronger emphasis on family this time around, enough to make Dom from the Fast and Furious franchise shed a couple manly tears. And then Shang Tsung just comes in and kills everyone. Like, yeah, the dude is evil and can't be trusted and stuff, but he usually tries to play the other combatants like fiddles before decommissioning them, right? So what I think is happening this time around is Fire God Liu Kang is trying to shape the timeline to be what he wants it to be, for it to fit his own vision, a timeline that only consists of what he considers to be peace at any cost. All I can think about when I have that concept in mind is Superman from the Injustice series. This man lost his wife and unborn child after launching them into space because Joker somehow had him think that he was fighting Doomsday. Once that happens, Superman kills the Joker and the world falls under his reign, and anyone who opposes him gets the permanent sleeper treatment. Kind of feels like what's going on with the reveal trailer for Mortal Kombat 1. What if Liu Kang has gone power hungry from becoming a fire god, is messing with time in a way that he shouldn't be messing with time, and one of these Shang Tsungs from these different timelines is genuinely trying to put a stop to him. But since we are so accustomed to Shang Tsung being the devilishly clever master of deception, we're just looking past it because of all the terrible things that he's done in the past. I think this is going to be a very interesting take. Definitely more than meets the eye here. So Mortal Kombat 1 is going to be insane for sure. I'm loving everything from the intros to the cameo fighters. I'm sure we've barely scratched the surface when it comes to content regarding this new entry in the franchise, but I'm sure we'll get a lot more goodies later this year. What do you guys think of Mortal Kombat 1? Are you guys excited, fatigued, tired of all this timeline madness? I do sort of wish we steered clear of the whole timeline thing, since it does feel like a cheap way to undo mistakes or come to easier resolutions. But I'm still along for the ride regardless. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This has been your friendly casual gamer, hoping that you stay as casual as I do, and I'll see you next time.